Hello Robins and hello Wrens, and welcome back to our Mystery Friday video lesson. Today we are going to be talking about something that I think is quite exciting. I noticed on Teams this week that you had been looking at and reading and listening and doing activities around the book How to Catch a Star by Oliver Jeffers. And it got me thinking all about stars and space. When I was your age, I used to love going out into my back garden with a telescope. A telescope helps us to see the night sky up close. It magnifies it so we can see it really clearly. I used to love going out into my back garden with a telescope with my parents to look at the night sky. And I thought that this would be a really fun practical lesson for you to do. This lesson I'm going to split into two parts. So the first part is going to be some facts about stars, and the second part of our lesson is going to be an activity that you can do this week or next week around stars. Now, this activity is going to require the sun. And I did have a little look at the weather, and there will be some sunshine next week, but not so much over the weekend. So I thought if you have this activity in your playbook, when the sun finally decides to come back, to something you can always come back and have a little go at. And it's quite a fun one. I was looking at it and I thought this is really lovely. It gets us outside. There's a little bit of building involved. And I thought I know some children who would love to do this. So my first thing is today we are going to be astronomers. Do you know what the word astronomer means? That's right. An astronomer is a person who studies the stars. And we're going to learn a few things about the stars today. So here I have 10 facts about stars. So our first fact is that stars are in the shape of a sphere. Do you know what a sphere is? Maybe you can have a little look around your house for other things that are in the shape of a sphere. But roughly, the shape of a sphere is the shape of a ball, like a football. Like a football, but much, much bigger. So, fact number 2. Stars are made up of very, very hot gas. And it is held together by a force called gravity. We have gravity on Earth, and it is what helps us to stay on the ground and not fly off into space. So gravity is the force that holds all the gas together to make a very, very, very hot ball of light and gas. Number 3, stars are made up of 2 gases, hydrogen and helium. You might have heard of helium before. You're right, we use helium in helium balloons. Helium is the gas that makes helium balloons float. So if you have a balloon and it floats, it has the gas helium inside. If you have a balloon and it falls to the ground when you let it go, that ball just has air in it. Okay, so those balloons that float also have helium, and helium is the same gas that is in a star. It's one of the gases. The other one is hydrogen. Number 4, we live in a galaxy called the Milky Way. Okay, so there's the galaxy called the Milky Way, which is huge. And then inside that galaxy is our solar system. Our solar system is made up of the sun and 8 planets. And then within our solar system is our little planet Earth. And then on planet Earth is the country, the United Kingdom. And then within the United Kingdom, there's the country England. And then within England is our town, Shrewsbury. So our galaxy is huge. And our galaxy is called the Milky Way. And the Milky Way, for our 5th fact, the Milky Way is thought to be home to 150 to 250 million stars. That's an awful lot of stars. An awful lot of stars. Number 6, stars are very different from planets. We have 8 planets in our solar system. I wonder if you can name some of those planets. And I wonder if you could have a look at how planets are different from stars. Number 7, fun fact. Our sun, that's right, the sun outside in the sky, he's kind of in hiding today. There's a few clouds, but he occasionally peeks through. The sun in our sky is actually a star. It is the biggest and brightest star we can see because it is the one that is closest to us. The reason why the other stars in our sky at night look much smaller is because they're actually millions of miles away. They are millions and millions of miles away from us. Whereas the sun is much closer, although it's still a long, long way away because it's so hot. Okay, so stars, and these are the stars that we see in our night sky, they form something that we call constellations. And constellations are where people have looked at the night sky and that notice that some of the stars form a pattern or a shape. And then they give those stars a name. And they sometimes use those stars to help them tell where they were going. So they used it when they were traveling to help them figure out where they were going. So some of the famous constellations that you might be able to find in our night sky is Orion's belt and Ursa Major. And there's ones like the Big Plough, and there's ones, some people call them the Big Plough, some people call them the Big Saucepan. There's then the Little Saucepan and the Little Plough. I think people also call them the Bear. It's all very confusing at times. So make sure to go on and have a little look at this star constellation map that, well, it's part of an activity, but on it, on Teams, Mrs. Harper's got some great pictures of what some of those constellations look like, and maybe you could go out and have a look in your night sky to see if you can spot them. I know that whenever I go out, the first one I look for is Orion's belt because it's one of the easiest to find because it's 3 stars in a row. Okay, number 9, the North Star is a very bright star in our sky, and it is in the north of our sky. And people used to use it in a time before maps or before mobile phones or before computers. They used to use it to tell which direction they were going in. So they would use the North Star, and if they were facing it, they knew they were facing north, and then they could work out the other points on the compass. So they'd know which other directions they could go in. They would know roughly where east is, south is, and west is, based on looking at the North Star. And number 10, people used to use the sun in a similar way, but instead of using the sun to tell where they were, they used the sun to tell the time. This was in a time before we had watches or clocks or computers or phones. We used to use something called a sundial, and the sundial used the sun and the shadow that the sun cast to tell what time it was. I know, it's amazing. Obviously, it couldn't tell the time at night because once the sun was replaced by the moon wasn't as powerful and obviously it was dark. But during the daylight hours, they could use the sun to tell the time. And I've got a little picture of what a sundial looks like. So this is a sundial that currently exists in Northampton in England, and it is a sundial, and as you can see, the triangular bit in the middle casts a shadow, and around the outside of the sundial they've got Roman numerals, but they're numbers that help them to tell the time, kind of like our clock face in our classroom or a clock at home. So our little activity that we're going to be doing today is making our own sundial. Now, all you're going to need for this activity is, now, you're going to need a square piece of cardboard. Unfortunately, I've searched my house high and low and I didn't have a square piece of cardboard. But you could just cut it off a cereal box that's, going for recycling, any kind of cardboard. I just got a piece of A4 paper. It's card, so it's a little bit more resistant, but you need either a piece of cardboard in a square or a piece of card, okay? And you're going to need some tubes. These are toilet roll, the centre from a toilet roll that we're going for recycling. And you're going to need some sellotape. You're going to need a pen. You might want to have a Sharpie or a felt pen that might draw a thicker line. And you are going to also want a ruler. So those are the things you are going to need. And linked on the PowerPoint that will also be uploaded to Teams is a link to the website where I got this idea from. And they also have a slightly different way of doing it from the way I'm going to do it. They used a glue gun. I didn't have a glue gun. I also wasn't sure about trusting myself with a gun, to be honest. But I imagine it will work just as well with sellotape. Okay. As I say, the other thing this activity is going to require is the sun to be shining. And as I look out my window right now, unfortunately, there are mostly rain clouds. But next week, there should be sun for you to do this activity. So, let's see if I can direct it down. So, I've got my piece of card, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the middle of my piece of card. Now, it should be in a square, but just for the sake of showing you how to do the activity and me not messing around trying to cut it into a square, I'm just going to show you, because this is a rectangle, I'm just going to show you the process of putting it together. So I'm going to get my tubes and my sellotape. I'm going to do a little bit of a sellotaping job. Now, if you've got a slightly longer tube, like from a kitchen roll, that would probably work better than my slightly haphazard tube ways. But this is just to give you a rough idea of what it might look like. So I've got my tube. What I'm now going to do, you could use either sellotape or glue to stick it down. I'm just going to use sellotape because that's what I have. So I'm going to sellotape my toilet roll centre to my card. Now mine's a little bit skewish, but he should be somewhere roughly in the middle of your square. So this is what it currently looks like. Okay, so then what you would do is you would take this outside with your pen and your ruler, and with the help of your parents, every hour on the hour, or in the link, the person who created this activity said that they did it every 2 hours, but every hour on the hour, you should go outside and mark where the shadow falls on your sundial. Now, I've got a light on my desk that's shining, and as you can see, it's kind of doing the same job as the sun, and I've got a shadow here. So what I would do is get my ruler and my pen, and I would draw a line following the shadow, and then I would write the time. So it is 3 o'clock, okay, currently when I'm filming this video. So it's 3 o'clock. Obviously, you would do this with the sun and not a light on your desk. But you can then use your sundial to tell the time. This is the way that people used to tell the time years and years and years ago, where long before we had things like clocks, and this was what they used to do. And we have found throughout history lots and lots of examples of sundials. So if there are any parts of this video that are unclear, as I say, there will be the link to the activity on the website attached on the PowerPoint, and I'll pop it in the description underneath when I post the video. That way then you'll just be able to click on it so you can have a little look. She does do it slightly differently, but she also gives a really good and clear explanation of what she did and how she did it. And this is specifically for children in EYFS. But I just thought it's a really fun way. And talking about the stars, the sun is also a star. So I thought that this would be something that you could get out and do, hopefully when the sunshine returns to us, as it's currently seems to be on vacation, seems to be on holiday. So I really hope that you enjoy doing this activity. I would love, love, love to see your sundials when you make them on Teams. And I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday for our phonics video. Bye!